And welcome to another episode of the True Patriot Outfitters Podcast, Special Edition, All American Kayak Series. Stop number 2, folks. We are on our way to Lake Conway in Arkansas. Just came through Arkansas, going over to Lake of the Pines when I was coming through Georgia. And so, yeah, man, it's the weather down there has kind of been real similar. It's going to be a lot of rinse and repeat, I think, when it comes to that. But like we've done before, guys, one of the things we like to do is reach out into the local area and talk to guides and so forth of that area to kind of give you a general idea of what you're going to be seeing when you get there. If you haven't registered yet, get out to the All American main page there, get signed up, get down here. This is should be a lot of fun, man. They're chewing right now, so I'm betting it's going to be a ton of fun, and you'll start to understand why Conway's is going to set up so awesome for the kayak world here. So there is we'll explain why it's difficult to find some guides around this area, but we did find one of the premier guys in the area that has guided in the past there, and he has been gracious enough to come on the podcast here and spend some time. Please welcome to the show, Mr. Cody Kelly. Cody, thank you so much, sir, for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Any chance I get to get out of the office for a second and talk about fishing, I'll jump on that for sure.
Heck yeah, man. Yeah, that's always the thing. You know, I tell people when I do the big podcast, it's like, oh, the interview will take 45 minutes or whatever. Yeah, hour and a half later, it's like two fishermen start talking, telling stories. Well, listen, man. So over the research and looking over this past week or so, Conway's, I'm more excited now about Conway than I was, when I first saw it in the season, just because of how well it sets up for us, the kayak anglers. So talk to me a little bit about, just the history of Conway, what guys can expect to see when they get there, just the basics. What do you know about it?
So, to kind of lead off with one of the really cool facts about it, it's the largest man-made lake that's ever been made by a state commission, Game and Fish Commission.
Nice.
Our Game and Fish Commission made it, and it was actually the first impoundment that they ever took on. I don't know the exact year it was made, but it was originally created as a hunting not facility, a hunting body of water reservoir. Used for duck. Used to be. My grandfather actually told me stories about you couldn't even see all the way across the lake because of all the trees.
Oh my gosh!
You'll hear stories back before GPS where guys would go out there fishing and they would actually get lost in the trees because it was like fishing in a forest.
Wow.
Trees have rotted and fallen, other than the cypress, but it's pretty cool. It's about 6,700 acres, so not necessarily a giant lake if you're running an outboard, but it's awesome for kayaks because there's so many little nooks and crannies and places to get around, and a lot of those stumps, as you could imagine, have rotted off right at water level. So you get a big bass boat out there, it can be a pain, leaving. And I've been stuck on stumps out there more times than I can count.
You got to have a real good insurance company, I'm betting, if you're going to run around out there.
Well, and I tell you, one of the things that you have to watch out for is a long time ago, they'd run yo-yos or limb lines. Everybody calls them something different depending on where you're at in the country, but they would hammer rebar into the stumps or T-posts to hang their yo-yos off of. Well, those rust off, and so you end up with these little metal spikes right under the water level, and there's multiple friends I've had that have ran T-posts through the bottom of their boats or scrape, so it's a treacherous place. You definitely earn it when you go out there.
Not for nothing, even the kayakers, man, rebar is no joke. That'll cut right through roto-molded plastic.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a good thing for us, a good tip for us to be on the lookout for. You say it's usually around those stumps, right?
Yeah, so, and a lot of times you'll see, because there'll be other ones still existing, it'll be a piece of metal that comes out of the stump and it'll look like a T. And if you get, generally they don't put just one, there'll be multiples. And so if you start seeing one or two of them, just kind of, if you feel yourself easing up on a stump, you want to definitely take some caution and back up with it. They're not everywhere, but it does happen.
Nice. Okay. Yeah. Good tip for sure. So I heard rumor of poking around and talking to people down there that a while back, Game and Wildlife Commission kind of went into Lake Conway and was trying to assess ways to open up some boat lanes in there. And ultimately, to just paraphrase what I was told on this, they kind of just basically decided, you know what? I just don't think this is a cost-effective way to do this, because it's just there's so much structure, if you will, that's in that water that they kind of threw their hands in the air a little bit and were like, let's leave it the way it is.
Yes. So when I was in college, I had an internship with them in their fisheries division,
Nice.
and it's kind of, I had mentioned to you previously that it's kind of the channels are more or less a path of least resistance is what they say.
Right.
A lot of them are actually the old creek channel. You're just following the old creek channels. Now, I believe 2 years ago, they actually, I don't know if they're working off a grant or off some extra tax money or what, but they did hire a contractor to come in, and they had this barge that had like an underwater saw, and they were using, I don't want to misspeak, but I believe they're using just forward-facing sonar to find these stumps and cut them off. Well, that works okay, but it almost can make it worse in some regards, because when you have a trail that's 95% clear, it instills that confidence to run around. So there are
False sense, yeah.
It's more open than it was, but there's still some cross trails and some areas that have not been touched. And so it's definitely, if you don't have some local knowledge, I tell everybody to take it easy.
Nice. Well, that's good to know, because a lot of times we start, the events before light comes up. About 30 minutes before light is when we cast and lines in, but we're, given that 30 minutes to get kind of to our location. So traveling around, if you got, trolling motor, especially the bow mount, it's good to know that, be prepared. You're going to bounce off of something possibly. So
there's a lot of trolling motors that have been claimed by that lake.
Awesome. So I was trying to figure out exactly what rivers feed into this. Is it multiple or just one primary that feeds in? Do you know?
There's really just one. It would be the Palarm Creek. It's
okay.
I guess you call it. It's a tributary to the Arkansas River, but that's the main one.
I was going to say it's real close to the Arkansas, but I didn't see any direct feed from that.
It's it's the Palarm Creek, Palarm River. There's another one, Pierce Creek. There's some smaller ones that are Caney Creek up on the north side.
Caney Creek, I've heard of that quite a bit. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's going to be the closest area to Conway as far as like a put-in marine facility. There's a bridge over there, and that creek runs pretty good ways up, and so you get some influx of water from both of those.
And the ramps seem pretty well easily marked locations to set in there. Our rules for us in our series is it's got to be publicly accessible. So if it's public land, we can launch from shore. If it's public land, it just can't be private or possibly restricted. We can do the pay to launch, provided anybody can do the pay to launch. It can't be like a campground site or something that if the campground filled up,
right,
then nobody else could launch there. So that wouldn't be acceptable. So just as far as launches go around there, they're pretty well maintained for the most part. Do they watch those?
No, yeah, they're pretty well maintained. There's not a lot. Most of them don't have boat docks, like a nice slips or anything, but
Sure.
Overall they keep them clean. There's several. I grew up a few minutes from Lawrence Landing. I'm sure a lot of people will probably launch there. It's a good central area. But yeah, the ramps are nice. I believe I can only think of one place that you have to actually pay to launch. Most of them are nice public facilities.
Awesome. That's good to know. Duck boats, you see a lot of those running around out there at all?
Yeah. So you mentioned I used to guide a little bit, and when I was doing that, I actually had a duck boat built. It's a 18-foot aluminum duck boat, and it's
Smart.
people laugh at me because it's a kick-up tiller handle, but I have all of my old Trex and lithium batteries and graphs mounted on it. But yeah, you see a lot of people fishing out of duck boats, even a few people with mud motors. And there's one guy that runs an airboat out here.
Oh, nice. Very cool. Where I was at for about 10 years was up around La Crosse area.
Wisconsin?
And, yeah. So on the river up there. So yeah, it's we're used to seeing the duck or the airboats. Those are the guys that pull people off the sandbars everywhere. They bring those out just like down in Florida.
I love La Crosse. We went up there two, three, maybe 4 times, and it's Man, that is some fun fishing. If you like catching 2 to 2.5 pounders all day long on a frog, that's a place to be.
And there is you'll find the pockets of quality in there too that get them even bigger. Yeah, it's La Crosse is a ton of fun. That's why so many trails go there. We were there with the All American last year, and it was a great turnout.
Yeah.
I actually caught more fish there. That was my first time fishing the La Crosse area out of a kayak. So I went to a lot of my old boat waypoints.
Yeah.
And knew that now I can push further into these areas. And yeah, I caught more fish on that trip than I ever have. I just couldn't find the big ones. Apparently I was in the wrong pool for that. All the big ones were coming north of me there. But yeah, man, it's a ton of fun.
A fun spot down there. I don't know. I don't remember the area, but down south on the east side of the river in that main pool across, there's all kinds of little canals and running way back. Yeah.
It's called Goose Island is what it's called down there.
You know what I'm talking about. And everybody fishes crawdad holes. I remember somebody telling me the first time I went up there about flipping a jig to those undercut banks, fishing crawdad holes. That was the first time I'd seen that.
Yeah, it's a ton of fun for sure. So what was the next piece I was going to ask you here? So at Conway we got the ramps thing. Okay, yeah, the water levels. Where I mean, I came from Gunnersville over to Lake of the Pines, so I came right through there. I was about 30 minutes south of Conway, and as we came through, and it's been getting the same weather that everybody down there has been getting, dude. So there's been some good rain that's been coming through. Where's Conway sitting right now for water level?
So
how's it looking?
We're sitting right now. I'm watching it rain. It's been raining all day. We're supposed to get 2 inches of rain just today.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and so the thing with Conway is it's not a deep lake. It averages about 6.5 foot deep, and it's so close to Conway, which is one of the larger cities. They're not a big city, but a larger city in Arkansas. That it has a giant influx of water from us. So being a shallow lake like that and fairly small, the water level does fluctuate up and down rather quickly. I don't know exactly where we are as far as what they call above pool and pool, but it is high right now, and it will be. But because it's so flat, we're not in a mountainous area. All the homes around here are actually pretty close to the water, and so they will preemptively open all the gates and start draining it out. Where you get into trouble with that is it's only 5 or 6 miles from the Arkansas River. So all of that weather system that's come across the U.S. that puts the water in the river, you see where we're going, it can back up. A couple of years ago, we actually had water flowing into the lake. So it's a fine line there of getting it down and keeping it under control. But yeah, with this influx, it'll shoot up, but being the size it is, it'll come back down just as fast, which can make it interesting for a tournament. Sometimes anglers will be scratching their head a little bit because of it.
Well, in that, is it going to move them? Are they going to how are they going to react to the water levels? That usually does put them on their head a lot of times, and it makes it tricky to track down where was the shore before this type thing, and trying to find that. So yeah, that should be quite the challenge.
Yeah, and the thing here is I'll kind of tease a little bit with we do have Florida largemouth, Florida bass here, Florida string.
Really?
And, if you have some guys that are familiar with how Florida string bass react with weather conditions and fronts and things, we have a decent population of Florida string here. So it can, especially if somebody goes out and practice and gets on a good pattern for some Florida string or in the pocket where there's a bunch of them. It can throw them for a loop if we get some weather changes.
Nice. Well, I haven't looked at the weather yet just because I don't trust any of my apps out there anymore. I start watching, a few days beforehand. That starts giving me. But I know there's been some cold, fronts that have come through there, brought them up, bring them down. Then it gets warm into the 70s. So it's kind of all over the place at this stage, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's been it's warm right now. It's been last couple of days. It's been in the 70s. The big thing this time of year are your nights. Not having those 30, 40 degree nights. If you can start getting your nights up into the mid 50s, the mid 60s, that's where it can really set them off. But we had a weird spell in Arkansas several weeks ago where it was we were up in the 70s. I fished a little bass tournament not long ago, and it was, mid 40s during the day, but the fish were they were up there in 2-3 foot of water. This wasn't on Lake Conway. This is on a different lake, but
Sure.
regardless, they're ready to go whenever Mother Nature tells them.
We were seeing that over at Lake of the Pines as well. It was there was a lot of reports of they were still sitting in a lot of shallow water.
Yeah.
They were kind of all over the place there, depending on what section of the lake you went to. But the quality seemed to be still sitting pretty shallow,
Yeah.
for sure. So awesome. Well, listen, man. Normally what we try to do with the All American is connect with local guides, guys that are tuned in, and the fact that you don't guide anymore and you were still willing to come on here, dude. We can't thank you enough, man. This is we're of the national trails for the kayak series. We're the little brother right now, and it's not based on anything other than entries. Okay, that's about it. It's something, those of us that are a part of working with the All American and that angle, in this, we're super, super proud of the payouts. We're proud of, the leadership of the All American and where it's taken us, and the fact that we go to these places that maybe a lot of other places don't go to. A lot of other series won't go to them. We like to go in and exploit some of these really good fisheries, and Conway most certainly is that. It may not have the name from the boat world just because, like we've been discussing, it's not real boat friendly, out there. But I'm confident, based on the information you're giving us too, that this has been chosen right, and there's some good fish hiding out in this water. So,
yeah, there are double-digit bass caught out here every year. Multiple double digits. Obviously, that's the exception, not the rule. But when I spoke with you before, we have this time of year. It's very, very common when you see the club tournaments of 10 to 15 boats bringing in 21 to 24 is usually what it takes to win. Now it's a 2-man team tournament, but the quality is definitely there for sure.
Nice. That's awesome. And again, man, thank you so very much for taking time out of your day like this to come chat fishing with us. And as I said and told you off air, when you're ready to go, man, I know a lot of people in the kayak game now that could get you hooked up, get you set, and the All American fish is right in your backyard, man. So we'd love to have you on board with us.
Yeah. I'll have to. I said my cousin does it, and he's been on me for years to get in one. And as these gas and diesel prices keep ramping up, it keeps looking more appealing for sure.
Heck yeah, man. It's one tank to fill and just recharge your batteries. And like I said, now you know a guy that could get you connected with just about any and everything out there. We can square you away, or we know people that can. So, well, listen, man, thank you so very much for your time. We're excited to come into Conway there, and looking forward to the community there. Oh, the last two things about the community. Obviously, angling is just part of life in that area. So the anglers, coming in aren't looked at any goofy. And I'm going to put you on the spot on this one, but it's always something we try to look at when we travel around. Crime in the area, guys, take care, lock things up through the thing, or is it a common thing that you see fishermen getting targeted, or not so much lately?
No, I don't. Obviously that can happen anywhere, but it doesn't seem like a common thing. Use common sense and be vigilant of where you're leaving your stuff. We don't have any, even the boat ramps. Honestly, I grew up a couple minutes from, like I said, Lawrence Landing, and knock on wood, I've never had a single thing messed with in my truck at a ramp. That's the common. Nice. Leave your truck there and come back and your stuff is stolen. And I've never had a single thing in 30 years stolen out of my truck.
Perfect.
So I would say you're pretty good. I would still lock my kayak up at night at the hotel or wherever you're staying, but no, it's a nice community. We have some decent restaurants here, and if you bring in the family, there's some fun stuff to do here in Conway. And there's mountain bike trails closed and hiking trails, and so
nice.
Yeah, if you bring the family, there's a lot of fun stuff to do.
Awesome. Well, listen, man, next go around when I get a chance to spend a little bit more time, we'll have to connect up. I usually travel with a couple of kayaks, and you and I can get out there and go mess around one of those times, or very least we owe you dinner, so we'll take you out and grab a beer when we're in that neck of the woods.
Sounds good.
Appreciate it, Cody. You take care, man.
So, thanks for having me.
You bet. All right, folks, so that'll do it. That's your pre-tournament report there on Lake Conway. I'm excited about this one. Schedule, I was not going to be able to make Conway, but and then we had some situations that we were actually drawn out of several, but then an opportunity presented itself that we have seized, so we were going to be getting in. We're not going to have our normal time to compete there, but is what it is. I'm excited to get down there and see the rest of the All American anglers that can make Conway. This is going to be a ton of fun. I'm excited for the opportunity of some big fish hiding down out there. I think anybody else stopping in, that's what we're going to see there. And, it's not too far away from where we just were. So it's this could be a ton of fun. This could be a ton of fun down there. And so make sure to get out to Tourney X, get yourself set up. If you're not a member of the All American Kayak Series yet, go get your membership lined up. Got to have a membership to be able to compete. And get on down to Conway, man, and let's go see if we can slap one of those double-digit bass around. Florida strain, according to Cody, Florida strain hanging out in that water. So should be interesting. Sorry, my phone's still going. Should be interesting. Should be a ton of fun. Appreciate everybody following along here with True Patriot Outfitters, the All American Kayak Series. Be sure to tune in next week. We'll have some more content as we get closer to that. And then, of course, we'll be going live with the awards. Hopefully, I'll get my camera work thing figured out here, and we'll be set up there. You guys need anything out there in the All American Kayak Series land, you obviously know where we're at. Hit us up, and we'd love to chat with you. So, as always, folks, tight lines and be safe.